What's going on, guys? My name's Zach and welcome to this installment of EVE Online. Today we're going to be taking a look through my hangar and what ships I've got in it. There is quite a few, but most of them are duplicated, but we're going to be taking a look through all of the fits very quickly. We're not going to spend too much time because I think this vid is going to be probably the longest one I'll ever upload, but we're going to try and crack on with it, and I'll show you some ships that Trump moved down to Sirica, Riftelin headquarters, since I joined Riftelins with Finteru and some other awesome video creators and streamers. So let's get started. Alright, first up, guys, we've got the Manio. Yes, this hasn't got a scram on, but I'll explain in a little while why that is. So we'll just, like I said, we're going to go very fast over the fits. We're not going to be talking shop too much. So with the Manio, we've got light neutron blasters for maximum damage, and we've got null and antimatter and all that good stuff. Doing pretty good DPS even with null. 277 is not bad cold, so well over 300 while it's heated, which is pretty nice. We've got a dual web. And I think it's different because CPU needs, you can see I've got like 0.7 CPU, so I'd like to put a scram on there personally, but I think the dual webs is pretty good. You can pretty much blap stuff before it gets a chance to warp out sometimes. It's not really something I would fly solo all the time, but it is a fun little ship. Micro-warp drive, so we can apply them webs really quick and the damage. A couple of mag stabs for max DPS-ish. And internal force field array, the super expensive damage control, that's obviously CPU limitations, and a small ancillary armor rep. And we've got actually bulkheads on this one, which are pretty cool. So don't worry too much about that explosive hole on the armor, even though the anti-rep does act as a buffer for the bulkheads, which is a theme through a lot of my ships, and in a lot of people use bulkheads now as well. It's pretty good in the meta, especially for Tristans and things like that. So that's the little Enyo. It's pretty much blast the shit out of anything before you die, which is always nice. Moving on quickly to the Hawk. Now Hawk's something that's really good at what it does. Even though all of the assault frigates are pretty slow, especially the Hawk, it's not very fast at all. It's like 2.5k, and I've got mid-grade snakes in as well, which isn't great, but once you grab a hold of something, you're not going to be letting go. It's got a really awesome tank with these two medium ancillary shield boosters, and it gets a bonus, I think. I'm pretty sure it gets a bonus, yeah. 7.5% shield boost amount, which is pretty crazy on the ASBs, while they're overloaded as well, so you get that extra cycle. Rigs for this one, we've got an ancillary current router because we've got a lot of power grid heavy stuff on there, micro-warp drive, ANSIs, and some overclocking unit as well. And we'll go rocket launcher 2s with this one, with Scourgy or whatever you're going to be putting in there. Scram, web, blah de blah, pretty standard really. Ballistic control for the damage and more CPU mods. So, I mean, I wouldn't go over 3 fitting mods, to be honest. That's generally a rule. I mean, even 3 is quite excessive, but for frigs sometimes you've got to actually allow for it. But that's pretty good at grabbing things and tanking until they die very slowly. So my thoughts on this personally is it's a pretty boring ship for me to use, even though it is really good at what it does. And the Wolf up next, I'm pretty sure this is artillery. Yeah, so we've got, like I said earlier about the assault frigates, they're not very fast, so we've got a couple of nanos on there just to make this very, very quick. It does 3.5 with mid-grades, that's not too bad at all. Obviously it's going to be heated a lot of the time. And we've got 250 arties on there. I normally run with 280s, but fitting constraints and stuff, you can see there's not much CPU. And even if we didn't have the nanos in, we wouldn't be fitting too much else. So we've got gyro and a tracking. So what does that give with our range? So we've got a fall off 26 and the optimal is 6.6. So it's not great, but it does apply a lot of damage if it hits, and it's really good. We've got a burster rater and a collision rig on there for damage and rate of fire. A warp disruptor 2 and a limited 1mm micro-warp drive for that speed, guys. So it is pretty good. It's a really good little support ship just for alphaing through things, and I really like flying it solo as well. Even when I fly mine solo, I'm pretty sure some of the guys might have seen the target painter wolf, which is a bit lol, but that's very fun as well. And on to the Mac next. This is the biggest ship I've got in Sirica, and we're going to be using this for something very fun, but more details coming up on that later. So the Mac, yeah, I was messing about with asking for fits in my pub chat, which is Zach's pub, if you feel free to jump in. And Ree gave us this fit. It's a little bit modded from the one he gave us, I think. Yeah, so we'll get back to this semiconductor rig in a sec, but for PvP Mac, it's pretty standard. We've got 800 repeating cannons. I think they're better for like sort of small gang, where in the fleets now you would use the 1400s. Imperial Navy heavy energy neutralizer, you definitely need that range, because if you get scrammed or anything, you're in big trouble generally, so you need to be able to like get off scrammers and shit, and that's why I've got a web on there as well. So we've got Republic Fleet Warp Disruptor. Now on non-bonused ships like the Mach 4 disrupt range and stuff, I really begrudge paying like 150 mil plus for a point, but Big Mike I was laughing at us, so I thought bollocks, I'll just get one and put it on there. And the Fed Navy web is shiny. Obviously you need that extra range. I think overloaded it goes to like 18 on the Fed Navy without links, which is pretty nice to web down those incoming scepters, get a neutron and then blap them with the 800s. That's pretty good. A heavy cap booster with Navy 800s in, that's pretty much a given. And a large micro jump drive and a Core C 100mm micro warp drive, which makes it go super speedy. 2100 cold with mid grades, that's pretty fast for a big battleship. And in the lows we've got a Nano, a damage control 2, Imperial Navy energized. Got to get as much out of that one res as we possibly can, that's why I put a Imperial Navy on there. Try and enhance that 2, a couple of gyro stabs, and even with 2 gyro stabs, what ammo we've got in here at the minute? We've got barrage in here at the minute, and we're getting a good 70k ish range, and we're doing nearly, well, 0.3 shy of 800. I think it goes, actually I can't even swap the ammo, can I? Oh yeah. So we'll put, I would probably normally rock with fusion, see what that does to the DPS. Yeah, so 981 with the fusion, which I would probably tend to stick the use on, but obviously the range is a lot shorter, so it is it's a fun ship, but like I say, you definitely need some support, so some little frigs tackling fire and shit, because you don't want them scepters jumping up on you, or anything else for that matter. But it can deal with things pretty good, and it's a lot of fun with that MJD as well. And the rigs we've got on is a large polycarbon engine housing 2 and a Tech 1. I would like 2 of the T2s on there, but the calibration, and this was the rig that I don't think I could get the fall off rig I needed in station, so I just threw on the semiconductor memory cell, which gives us actually more cap to the ship, which having the micro warp drive on, it does give you a little bit of a nerf to your overall cap, I think. Still in the hundreds. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so on the Core C one, we've only got like a 8%. I think the T2s give you like a 17 or a 19% nerf, which is pretty, like a pretty big deal when you're sort of kiting around in these big battleships. So the most expensive one you can get, I would definitely throw on a Mac, but it's pretty good. So the semiconductor memory cell gives you an amount of cap, so it sort of negates all of that negativity from the MWD and gives you like a larger pool to keep going, so that's pretty nice. And now we're moving on to a couple of my favourite ships in the game, the Cinnables. These are really awesome. They look totally badass, and they do handle and act badass as well. So there's a couple of ways to fit these, the newer one being the artillery, but this one is a 425 autocannon 2, and it puts down quite a lot of DPS at a decent range. So we've got 4 of those on, and a medium newt. That's really important on the Cinnable, because you don't want to be getting sort of tackled by like super fast drams with ABs and stuff, because they'll outtrack these big guns. So having the medium newt is very good. You get drones as well, so dealing with tackles very pretty easy, I would say, with that medium newt and the drones, sort of like the Vagabond. It's got lots of options for dealing with small things. And in the mids we've got Warp Disruptor 2, 2 large shield extender Tech 2s for that buffer. We've got 13.6 all in on the shields, which is very nice. You can put a damage control on there, but I've just opted for a nano. We've got a defensive web. Now I like to sort of kite out of that range with this one, and if anything gets too close, just overload the web and get some damage applied to it pretty good. If you're with a small gang though, you can just get balls deep in there and kill things. With that big buffer, you can last pretty long time. 10mm mighty warp drive, and a couple of tri enhancers, a couple of gyro stabilizers, and you can either go nano, or there's enough room to put on a damage control if you really wanted to. To be honest, that's probably the best option, but I just like to go extra speedy. So fast to a go, 3.2 with a mighty warp drive, that's not too bad at all. And the other variant of this is the artillery one. And for the rigs, we've got ANSI current router for the 720s, because they take huge amounts of power grid, especially when you're putting buffer and 10mm on there as well. We've got a locus coordinator for rigs, and the other rig, and a medium EM screen reinforcer as well, just to buff up that shield a little bit. It hasn't got as much tank as the AC one, but it's not really needed because you're going to be fighting out at a much longer range. Well, hopefully anyway. So we've got 720s on there, which are absolute beast. No room for a newt, unfortunately, so fly this against frigates at your own risk unless you can blap them in one shot. T2 warp disruptor, FS9s on this, but I go for meta extenders for the fit. This one is you can either go tracking computer or a web. I would probably recommend a web actually, just for defensive purposes, just like the 425 fit. That would probably suit you better. Then you've got at least a little bit of a chance of getting like a one-shot kill on a frig or something with it going a little bit slower. Might warp drive again for the speed. Lows again you can change. I've got 3 gyros on this, but you can put damage control on there, and I think that would be a better option for especially if you're solo and stuff. And a couple of track enhancers just for the range. Now we'll get a good fall off, 66 kilometer and 20 optimal, which is pretty good. I mean, the Citadel is super badass. And up next is one of my new favourite ships, which is the Navy Executor. It looks absolutely gorgeous since it's been remodeled by CCP in the Proteus patch. So I was messing around on CC with this, and it was really just like a fun fit sort of thing, but I've transferred it over to TQ. I actually took it out on stream the other day and got a few kills with it. It's pretty nice, even though the tank is super flimsy. But the whole point of this ship, I believe, is just blap things until they're dead very quick. So with the fit's pretty tight on this one for some unusual reason, so we can't get neutrons on there. So we've got Ion Blaster 2s, just for fitting purposes, with antimatter and void and null, of course. And with antimatter we're doing 774 DPS, well 690 just on the turrets and 85 from the drone, so all in that number is crazy. And you always want to keep this overloaded, and it just goes ridiculous. With neutrons you can get like well over 1000 DPS on this cruiser hull, and it's just fucking retardedly massive DPS for what it is. In the mids we've got a 10mm mighty warp drive. Went for a T2 just because it's got less of a cap nerf than the meta ones and stuff. And you're going to be burning around after targets quite a lot in this, I feel. And even though it is pretty quick, I do feel having the extra cap is worth it. And on top of that, just to keep it going, we've got a cap booster 2 with 800s. That also keeps the ANSI rep going when you're short on cap. Warp scram and stasis web. It is just a super brawler ship with that amount of DPS and stuff, like blasters and stuff, you know, that just melt face. In the lows we've got a damage control 2, a medium ancillary armor rep, just to, again, for the, I mean, we've got traverse bulkhead rigs in here with a damage control, so it is hull tanked mainly, but like with a few of the other ships you'll see the ANSI rep is actually worth it, and I have tested this on TQ, like I say, and had it out on the stream, so it's pretty fun. And I mean, what else would you put in there, like more tracking or a nano or something, but the ANSI rep I feel gives you much more use when you're brawling, especially you're going to need a little bit of rep. 3 mag stabs, which maybe is a little bit OP. Yeah, I tried it with like a couple of track enhancers and a couple of mags, but like I say, it's all about getting as much DPS on your target as possible because your tank is a little bit flimsy. So the rigs, we've got 2 bulkhead rigs. I would love 3. This would be absolutely perfect with 3. But because the fitting's really tight on the power grid, we had to use a medium ancillary current router. And if I took the cap booster off, it would go, but I'm not sure. I do feel that this fit needs it because the cap is pretty limited, and burning around a lot with the mighty warp drive, I feel you definitely need that cap injection, especially with the medium rep, so that's pretty good. And it's a really fun ship, guys. I definitely recommend you trying it out. This is by far one of my, probably in the top 3 of my favourite ships in the game at the minute. It's super good. It's pretty standard fit, I would guess. Yeah, XLASB. So we'll start with the rigs. We've got a medium anti-AM screen reinforcer, polycarbon engine housing 2, because you need to go fast. You definitely need to go fast and be agile. And a medium core field extender 2, and that blends well with the FS9 shield induction shield extender. So we've got rapid lights on this. It's just amazing at killing like small frigs and sort of like lesser tank T1 Vexers and other things like that. It's really good, even though you have got that long reload, so you need to watch out for that. I would love to put a medium newt on this, and I have got a dual LSE buffer version which allows for a medium newt, and I feel a lot comfortable at flying that, even though I can deal with tackles super easy. I've got drones and I've got rapid lights, so it's not really an issue, but it's just like that safety net of the medium newt. It's good against cruisers as well. If you're stuck on a reload, you can sort of soften them up with that. XL ancillary shield booster. Not a fan of restart. Not a fan of the single ASBs, but in this case it is good because you can, since you're flying out at range anyway, you're sort of negating a lot of incoming DPS, and that just gives you a little bit added to boost it up. LSA in there, like I said. Republic Fleet Warp Disruptor. Now it's totally worth pimping these Mortis Legion ships, even if it's just the points and scrams. It's just super OP. 45 kilometers, like cold. That's just insane on the Republic Fleet, even though it is so much money. And the Dreadgarista scram, we're getting 15 kilometers, and that's, I think it goes up to 54 overheated without links on the Warp Disruptor, and I believe that kicks up to like, it must be 18, 20 kilometers with the Dreadgaristas. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But defensive scram, like, definitely need a defensive scram, and that's really good for doing drive-by scrams as well, since it's so fast. And we've got a C-Type 10mm micro warp drive. These aren't as expensive as you think. I'm pretty sure it was only like 60 mil, and it is totally worth it. Again, with cap issues on this, it's pretty weak on the cap, so you need that less nerf to the overall capacity of your capacitor. Couple of nanofibers and a couple of ballistic controls. There is I think the buffer fit allows for a damage control and 3 ballistic control units. That's probably the better way to go, to be honest. More DPS and stuff, and that's what it's all about. You need to put as much out there with the limited ammo you've got in the rapid lights, and the range is just absolutely crazy. You got like 63k on the range. You can target out that far, and you can pretty much point out that far as well. So all in all, like a super fun ship. It's very fast. Can deal with gangs like reasonably well, and it's people say it's pretty OP. And up next is a very expensive Scythe Fleet issue, which the fit I got from Reload. You'll have to just excuse the empty mid slot. I did give the storyline cap booster to Finn earlier for his crazy fit Orthrus, so you'll just have to imagine the cap boosters in there for a sec, because the T2s don't fit. So with this one, it's a ham setup, a dual rep ham setup, and I've had a fight with the 220 version of this, where using the guns and the shields, and it absolutely wrecked it, just completely and utterly wrecked it. So if you can grab a hold of a cruiser with this, you're going to be putting down some pretty impressive damage, I would say. So with this one, we've got an ancillary current router, a payload and accelerator for DPS, a medium anti-explosive T2 rig for the low thing on that. I think I put the explosive on because that's quite common, used in like null and low and stuff. I think I was actually roaming around nullsec with this on stream at some point. And like I say, we've got ham launcher 2s on there that do some crazy damage. The range isn't too bad, 20 kilometers. I mean, you're going to be wanting to brawl with it, so that range isn't really too much of an issue. We've got a Fed Navy 10mm afterburner, as well as a 10mm micro warp drive, so it is dual prop. Warp scram and a web, obviously Brawly, and that cap booster that should be there. Damage control 2, energized adaptive nano membrane, medium armor repair 2, and Shadow Serpentis medium armor repair. This is again for fitting as well. The power grid is super tight with the cap booster in, so you need that to like actually fit the fit, and it is pretty decent having that on there. So dual rep is really nice on a close range ship, so it's pretty fun. It deals out a lot of damage. And the Stratios, this one is a bit of a weird one. It's not really ideal for PvP, but I had this in Castle when I was living there with Niacin and Blood and stuff, just doing some PvP, and it worked pretty well. And one of my favourite things to do in game is scan things down and then get the kill. That's so satisfying in PvP for me personally, which is why we've got an expanded probe launcher on there. Assist has one with all of the good probes and stuff, but it is a little bit weird with the fit because the CPU is super tight when that's active, so you can't use your cloak at the same time. So basically what I would do, I would get undocked, scan the system and shit, and then just offline me launcher as I got this the target, and just online me cloak and get in warp and stuff. So that's the way it would work. And because of that, when it's in cloak mode, all the CPU is sort of wasted. So if you're going to be like doing that, I had to give up a couple of useful rig slots for overclocking units, which was a bit of a pain. But we are dual rep as well. We've got one ANSI and one medium armor rep with a damage control, because I'm counting on drone DPS here. And with the newts as well, that's like a super powerful combo if you can get a scram on. A couple of Imperial Navy energized, just because I had them lying around. I would probably, if I built this again, I would just use T2 enams, which are pretty good as well. And we've got a dual point on here. We've got Shadow Serp, which gives a 26 kilometer cold point. And the reason I put the sort of pimp one on this was because if you're in warp to something that's quite far away, and like if you've probed it down in a safe and it's moving, even with like MWD on, you're going to land quite far away from it. So having like an overloaded pimp point's really useful for that. And then once you get close, you can just whip on the scram and get the kill. Mighty warp drive and cap boost are pretty standard. So standard mids really, apart from the dual point, which is a bit pimp. And drones, I think we had for the main DPS, I've got geckos. The bandwidth's quite limited on the Stratio, so you've got to pretty much watch what you're pulling out there. We've got ogres, geckos, the usual stuff. Yeah, so it is really good. Had a lot of kills in this and cast all. And I'm sorry if you are one of the guys that I killed, but I did kill a few newbies when they came in mining and stuff, so I apologise, but lesson learned. Happy days. And we'll skip the Vexer because that's not really fit properly. And the Vigilant. Now, this one's a little bit different to what you would probably see. And to be honest, this is going to get absolutely wrecked in pretty much any fight, unless I can get away from it with that OP web. So this is really a fun fit for me. It's a bit of an offshoot from Fintaru's like full hull tank Vigilant fit, where I've just dropped a bulkhead and put a medium ancillary rep on there. It's still got all of the bulkhead rigs on there, the T2s. Super fun ship again. It's all about like having fun with this fit, like completely. And you can do it solo, or probably small gang would be a lot better. But we've got neutrons on there for the crazy DPS. It's pushing up like 860 or 767 with the guns, sorry, and 93 with a drone. So all in, we're getting like a big figure. And overloaded, it goes very high indeed. And you can use Void on this pretty safe once you apply the web to especially cruiser size targets and stuff, and you're still going to be getting good hits. We've got a cap booster, warp scram, web with that 90% bonus is just super OP. And I think Micah was taking the piss when I showed him this because I had the fleeting prop on there. I think I'll probably change that to a Fed Navy or something more shiny for his approval, lol. 10mm Mighty Warp Drive, a couple of reinforced bulkheads just to buff up them rigs as well. The AR, which I've already been over. The mag stabs, which give it absolutely crazy DPS. And of course the damage control 2, tech 2 to give us as much resistance on that hull as possible, 60%. So again, funny ship to use, very good in small gangs and stuff. Moving on to the carries next. So support ships is something I really find myself rarely flying. So since I joined Riftlands, I was asking like what sort of ships I should be flying and stuff with the guys down there, what's good. And Kitty linked as this carries, which is pretty awesome. I like the idea of the old damn ships, but like I say, I'm a bit of a newbie at flying all of these E-War support things. So we'll just quickly go over the fit Kitty gave us. Small auxiliary thrusters and a polycarb just for absolute speed. I mean, this thing goes crazy fast, like 3.5 coal. That's absolutely ridiculous, and it needs to be because you're going to be staying out at range with this damping things. Does get a huge bonus to the damps. We've got a T2 warp disruptor and a scram, and hopefully you'll probably never need to use the scram if you're doing it right. Damage control too, a 200 plate energized explosive, because warriors and stuff, they're going to be the main problem for you. Like super fast drones coming, especially from like cruisers are going to be spitting out like 5 warriors at you, and that's an issue. So you need as much explosive on the arm as you can, which is a really good idea. And Kitty says that 200mm autocannons are just for killing drones as well. I mean, you don't really want to be brawling with a ship, and like I said, as a fleet support, so it is pretty useful. Yeah, I mean, you could probably I don't think you could actually solo anything with this, and if you did, you're a good man. So all in all, good fit. You do actually get a couple of little drones to use as well, 10M3 space there, so that's going to be interesting. And Kitty says it's really good with, if you've got a fleet mate and a confessor, this is a really good pairing with it as well. And up next is the Sentinel, or the Fentanyl as this one's called. So this is the one that Finn flies all the time. This is Finn's favourite frigate, and I've bought a few of them just to use, and I haven't really had a lot of success when I've been trying it, even though the engagements I've had have been pretty fun, to say the least. So in the rigs we've got a nanobot accelerator just to get that rep going. Auxiliary current router for all of the things to fit. So this obviously is a newt ship and a drone DPS ship. So we've got small and stable newts on there, and with top skills you go 31 kilometers. Like you can just newt out like frigs from silly ranges. We've got a tracking disruptor on there, and we run, what scripts we got in? We've got tracking speed and optimal range disruption scripts, so you can swap between them depending on the situation. A T2 point, you really need the T2 or like a pimp one because you're going to be fighting out at range. The tank is super flimsy, so negating as much DPS as possible is always good. Small cap booster just to keep them newts running. Micro warp drive, very fast as well, does like 3k. Even though the align time's awful on this ship, I find it really horrible, so it does feel a little bit sort of fat and weighed down as well. Damage control 2, ARR, and a drone damage amp. The DPS isn't great. Let's see what drones I've actually got in here. So I've got Acolytes and Morias. The DPS isn't great, like I say, but with them newts, like 1v1 any frigate, I think you're going to just absolutely wreck face, unless it's sort of like Gormas and things which can shoot out from like a long way, or like capless guns like missiles and autocannons or artilleries and stuff. They're going to be still hitting you even if they get capped out. So all in all, hopefully a fun little ship to use. What we got next, that's just Explorer fit. And the Curo's up next, and this is a ship I really want to fly a lot, but I find myself not being able to, either because like I just can't get a really good fight with it, or just I'm not really good at flying it, which is probably the latter, to be honest. I just struggle putting DPS down. It does not great DPS, but it's not shabby either, and especially with the web bonus it gets. It's like 24k on the Caldari Navy, and you overload that, you're going to be webbing out at like 30k and stuff, so it is really good for a range ship. And the long point on there, just to obviously take into account the extra range. So we've got a couple of locust coordinator rigs on as well for the lasers. Overclocking for the fitting, ARR, a tracking enhancer, heatsink, and IFF, super overpriced damage control. So I've had a few engagements in this, and I really need some more practice flying it. I don't think it's well, especially in low sec at the minute, there's a lot better options for flying stuff, but it is pretty pimp as well. I mean, I've got an A-type and the Navy and stuff, so I wish I could get a better point on there. We'll have to have a look at that. CPU's like constraining. So yeah, I'll try and get some good fights with this, and I'll get back to you with some updates on like what I think, because I really want to enjoy the ship, but I just find myself struggling to do anything with it. Alright, let's have a look at these Gormas. I think this one's actually got 3 points on. I've got no idea why. I think I actually had this one to catch a farmer, but we'll just skip past this one. Right, so this is the cheapy ones, isn't it? Yeah, so I've got a few Gormas. A couple of them are pimped, and a couple of them are super cheap fit, because Gormas are pretty op when you're using snakes and links and stuff. Small ancillary current router, T2 for the fitting. I don't actually think I need that, to be honest. Maybe. But that's all good. Ionic field projector for a little bit extra range. The standard range on a Gorma is 35 kilometers, and when you're going super quick and things like this, you need to give yourself a bit leeway so you don't lose your lock and stuff. Overclock for the fit. We've got light missile launchers. I'm sure Finn's going to cringe when he says that, but that's what this fit is. Limited micro warp drive. Warp disruptor too. Now, having shiny things on Gormas like Mortis Legion bonuses are really good for points, but really 36 kilometers is great for like a T2 warp disruptor. You can only point out, you can only lock to 43, so having like a super shiny like Republic fleet is not worth it at all, because you can't even lock to the maximum point range. So overloaded T2 is absolutely fine, and it's really, well, obviously cheap as well. We've got a medium ancillary shield booster on there. That's not great, but it does a little bit, give you a little bit leeway into what you're going to be shooting and stuff, and they're getting some DPS. Speed tank's the key here for the Gormas and stuff. And a defensive scram. I've just got a cheap shitty one in there. It still goes 12k like cold, which is really, really nice for defensive purposes. We've got a nano and an overdrive and a ballistic control, and how fast we're going. So we'll go 5.3, well, just under 5.4, like with the mid grades. Super quick. It's very hard to control, like especially when you're doing manual and like close range and stuff. So that's why you need that. I'd guess the ionic field projector. That definitely gives you a little bit of leeway, because scoping in for like getting relocks and stuff, it's not what you want to be doing in a fight. You just want to be orbiting quick and laying down DPS. So it's a very fun ship. I know a lot of people don't like it for the reason that it's, I mean, using it without links and snakes is fine. It's a very flimsy ship and pretty easy to kill, but when you add things like do a 10k Gorma and stuff, it's just ridiculous. Even with the mid grades, I feel like a bit of a douchebag for flying it. And I think this is me pimped version. It hasn't actually got any ammo loaded in. Just stick some in there. So this is the one I usually fly. It is a little bit more expensive, but again, pimping Mortis Legion ships is very good, even though they're super cheap now. So we've got nanofiber, ballistic, micro auxiliary power core for the fit, overclock for the fit, a couple of core defense, one core defense field extender, and AM screen reinforcer 2. Light missile launchers again for the range. A Dreadgarista warp scram, which goes 15 or 18 I believe when it's overheated, and that's defensive scram. A medium FS9, Corelli A-type 1mm micro warp drive, very quick. That makes you go like insane speeds. And a warp disruptor 2 again. I'm pretty sure that should be a pimped one actually. We'll see. But we've got a T2 on there. I haven't got any range rigs on this one. Like I was saying earlier, you start to run into issues when you're going very quick, when you're locking shit up and orbiting and things, so you've got to watch your ranges, because you haven't got like you're not going to be close range bowling with this unless you can sort of help it. So a couple of fits there. I know there's a rocket fit as well, but I just haven't got any of them down here, but I do like those as well. And we've got tons of slicers. These are super cheap. I think bang for buck, like pretty much 9mm for a slicer, and the fits were pretty cheap. I'm pretty sure for 10 slicers and all of the fits it only cost us like 145mm or something. It was like super cheap. Bang for buck. I don't think there's any other frigate in the game that gives you the performance this does for the cost. Maybe the Firetail, but you'd have to make up your own mind. So in this one, the slicer in general is it's meant to be kitey fit, and that's indeed what this one's fit as. So we've got overclocking again. These rigs are like super awesome since they got introduced. Locus coordinators for the range on the lasers. And with pulse lasers we get 22 kilometers with Scorch, which is really good because that's perfect range for when you're kiting out. Micro warp drive for the speed, it goes 4k, that's insanely quick. And a T2 warp disruptor, I don't see the point of pimping much on this because it's only like a 10mm ship. Heatsink, damage control, and I think the damage control is really important. I used to fly mine with a double nano, but since taking some advice from Finn and some other guys that fly slicers more than I do, with damage control is the way to go, especially on low sec. I think a null, like a double nano, is the way to go, or even a nano and an overdrive, just because there's so many more scepters and stuff. Tracking enhancer had to be a meta for the fit, nanofiber and the ARR. So I really like that fit. I haven't used it too much yet. I've been having too much fun in the Daredevils and things, which sadly I haven't got any to show you. I've already lost them all, but Slicer's very cheap for ship and really good at what it does. Definitely try it out. And at the same time, I think I bought 10 of these dual web artillery, 280 artillery firetails with a rocket launcher, just for a little bit of added DPS. And the rocket launcher is pretty good for dealing with drones if you do find yourself in that situation where the 280s could be missing and stuff. So it is pretty good. It's just like a keep range, get dual webs, and just blap it before you die. The tank is pretty light on it. So we've got a couple of nano pumps on there, and that makes your rep super quick. A small projectile collision accelerator, DPS. The 280s hit very hard. These absolutely wreck things. So we've got pretty basic scram kite, scram, couple of webs, AB, pretty standard. Gyro stabilizer 2 for increased DPS. Cheap shitty damage control. I didn't see the point of putting like an IFF on here or nothing. Just thought something cheap would do. And the ancillary armor repair, and again, like the slicer, bang for buck, it's very effective. And anyone will fight a firetail in a plex and stuff. If you jump in a plex, you'll definitely get a fight in this, where maybe obviously like things like the Garma are going to scare shit away. So firetails get fights for sure. And have I lost one of them yet? No, I've still got all 10. Rifters I'm just going to skip past because it's me old RVB lol fit. So we'll hit the Daredevil. Sorry, the Succubus. Now this is another little bit of an odd ship, the way I've got it tanked. So I've seen a lot of people flying these like dual tanked with the ARR, the AAR and the medium ancillary shield booster. I love that idea in frigates, like the Breacher. That was one of the first ones to kick that off. And I've been in loads of fights recently where that's actually saved us, having the extra rep on the armor, which I find really useful. And it doesn't gimp the fit either. You still get to like chuck a heatsink on there, which is really nice, and a damage control. So it doesn't really like having a dual tank, sometimes you've got to give up like other low slots and stuff, but in this it doesn't really matter too much. And we've got an A-type afterburner on there because obviously AB bonus on the succubus. And damage we're doing 120. Is that with Aurora? Yeah. So I've actually got beam lasers on this. I was trying it out, but usually it's pulse where you're going to be scram kiting and stuff. I think I had this set up for when I was flying gangs with Blood and Ying the other day, so it was pretty good. And also, we've got bulkheads on here, so in actual fact, this succubus is triple tanked. And the fights we had the other day, I got really down into the like low ends of structure and shit, so this fit actually saved us. I didn't die the whole time, and we got absolutely shit tons of kills, so this, for those occasions, it did actually work. But to be honest, you'd probably be best off sticking some resistance in the shield stuff, so you'd have like either extenders or screen reinforcers and stuff in there, so that just helps the standard fit ASB go. But I thought it was a little bit different, and you can take on a couple of frigs like no probs with this. It's just absolutely awesome, and like fuck with gangs and stuff because you go pretty quick with the AB. Unscrammable. The only thing you've got to really worry about is like getting multiple webs on you. So that's a pretty lol fit. Definitely try it and let us know what you think. The other one's just the standard ASB, I think. And I believe there's this Fawn's Tristan's. Yeah, so this is one of the most fun things I've seen recently. And Fawn, or Ravage_C on the Twitch stream, who's in Rifterlands, he was doing some streaming with a Tristan, and he could only use lasers at the time. I'm pretty sure he's trained up to use rails and stuff now. But the laser Tristan, like, guys, don't like just roll your eyes or anything. This is fucking awesome, this fit, like really good. So I've pinched this fit off him and I built some up. So we've got dual light pulse laser 2s with Scorch, and the optimal range is like at the top end of scram, so you can scram Kai like a boss in this and still apply lots and lots of damage with your lasers, since you're always going to be shooting in that optimal range. Small NOS and bulkhead rigs. The Tristan's like super tanky. We've got an AAR on there as well. Again, like the bulkhead rigs and the AAR is a big theme at the minute for like especially me, and also in the meta at the minute. Drone damage amp, because we're a drone boat as well. Now you can go newts obviously, but we're just AB, with where you go newts you would have a micro warp drive. We've got a web and a scram, obviously scram kite, and it is a really good ship, guys. Like pretty awesome. I wouldn't say it does more damage than the rails or the blasters, but definitely lays down some DPS, and I've won some lol fights with this as well. So thanks Fawn for that, it was really good. And we've got a few worms up next. I think I'm going to change up the fit a little bit, but this is the one I've had the most success with, and we've got nothing in the tops. You can put like missiles and rockets in or whatever. The compact versions pretty much are fit pretty well if you're going to drop other stuff. So we'll start with the rigs. We've got a current router for the fitting, and 2 core defense field extenders for the tank, as well as a medium FS9 shield induction. So we've got a pretty big buffer anyway, and also I've got a medium ancillary shield booster, sorry, in there just to keep it going as well. And I do think this fit is really effective. Like I say, this is the one I've had the most success with, rather than just a pure buffer, but the big buffer one has got advantages over this one as well. We've got a Shadow Serp Warp Disruptor for the extra couple of kilometers point, and it's really useful for when you're overheating as well, because you can like get well out of their point range and stuff. A Corelli A-Type 1mm micro warp drive, a little bit shiny for a worm, but I do think it's actually worth, especially that T2 point, and you definitely need lots of speed because you're going to be fast orbiting around like a Gorma, sort of styly, just applying damage with these drones, and the drones are absolutely unbelievably crazy. So I've got Acolytes and Warriors in here. I tend just to stick with Acolytes depending on what fight I'm taking, but any drone will do a lot of damage to your target. It just completely alphas through AAR reps and things, so it's definitely good. A couple of drone damage amps, damage control in there. 200 DPS with drones, it's just ridiculous, and they do hit hard. But there is a few versions of this fit, but like I say, more success. Next up is the Raptors. Now I bought a few of these from, I had some in Tazy all ready for when I was doing some low-sec solo a couple of months back, and I was surprised to say that this null-sec fit has actually been doing pretty well in low-sec, which I was quite surprised about. It's got no rep, just buffer. and it sort of relies on the fall off of the neutrons. So anyone who watches Eve is Easy and has seen Sutonia's Raptor fit, this is basically it. So after I watched his vid, I'll stick a link somewhere. It's really useful if you would like to know some more about the ship. The fall off bonus is pretty good. I mean, you get like a 10k range with null, and you're very quick. You've got some buffer, so you've got a scram and a web, and mag stab for more damage control, blah de blah de blah, and a burster radar as well in the rigs. Really, really good. I haven't lost one of these. I've been in tons of engagements. I've been able to get out of engagements. You can, I mean, there's plus factors for using the interceptor and low where you can warp around quicker, so it's ideal for being a scout. And it's all in all, again, just another fun fit. Don't think this one's finished either. Yeah, so this one's just a pure tackle fit. And I don't think it's the best, but it's what I threw together quickly. So we've got some pretty good reps on there. Scram and a long point. And we'll go, it's got a point range bonus, so we'll go 30k with the T2 warp disruptor, 11k with the scram. And it's basically just speed tackle, that's all this is. Just hold targets down while your fleet members arrive. And Blood was flying one of these the other day and he did an excellent job for her. So that was the reason I bought one, just to have a mess around with it. I might just take it out solo and just troll tackle some people for the lols. Heretics. Yeah, so we've got auxiliary thrusters and a warhead catalyst. I'll not try and say that other word because I can't actually read it. I haven't got my glasses on. The light missile launcher 2s all the way around. They're really, really good. They do a lot of damage, like lots and lots of damage to small targets. Like frigates, you'll just eat alive completely. Warp disruptor 2, small cap booster, and might warp drive. It's pretty standard, really. ARR, ballistic control, and damage control. Now these are super, super awesome, guys. You get good resistances all the way through. They're pretty quick. Probably just under 3k with no implants, which is not bad. And it does a lot of damage. I had loads of fun in this a while back, flying it with the Rifterland guys, and it's well worth the money. So that's pretty much it, guys. I have got other ships coming down, which are pretty lol fit, the old zaqq styley sort of stuff. So we'll be having more fun. There is tons more videos coming. I've got absolutely shitloads of footage saved already from my time in Lawsec down here, as well as some other stuff with Finn, which I'm working on. And it's just been a pretty good start of the year, all in. So I hope you're having as good a time as me and Eve. And if you want any more information on the fits, please just give us a shout or drop into my pub chat, which is Zaq's pub, or We Fly Rifters, which is Rifterland's pub chat. And yeah, give us a mail, drop us a convo anytime, and I can give you all the info you need. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in space.